the Women's Spotlight, Her Light, Her Story, a space where we celebrate women leaders, entrepreneurs, and creatives who show up each and every day with courage, purpose, and authenticity. I'm your host, Tiffany, and in each episode, we shine a light on her story, the real journey behind the titles, the challenges, and the victories. Today, I'm so excited to introduce you to Meredith. I did it again. Why do I want to call you Meredith
It
first?
happens all the time.
I'm
It
so
really
sorry.
does. It's
I'm gonna
okay.
say that I'm saying it again. Forgive me. Morgan Meredith. She is founder of Accountable Hero and Build the Course. In our conversation, we're going to learn more about Morgan's story and how she shines light on her life's purpose. So grab your coffee or whatever your favorite drink is, settle in, and let's step into the spotlight together with Morgan Meredith. How are you today, Morgan?
Oh, I'm great, Tiffany. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you for being here with us today. So, I'm going to ask you to first of all tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I am the founder of Accountable Hero and Build the Course. And in my personal life, I actually am a fairly new parent. My baby just turned 1 year. So that has
Oh.
been a really interesting shift.
Mm-hmm.
As anyone else who's a parent knows, it's a very big shift. And I live in California. I'm in Northern California, near Sacramento.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a lot about me.
Well, great. Do you mind me asking if your baby is a he or a she?
He,
Oh,
Xavier.
sweet. Okay, well, sweet. Yes, I just became a lolly in September of 2025 to a beautiful granddaughter named Sophia. So yeah,
Oh,
so it's really
congrats,
nice to have a
Mama.
baby. Yep. Yeah, it's like Lolly and Pop, but she'll be calling me Lolly. So
Oh, that's so cute.
yeah, thank you. So I'm so glad to hear about a little bit about your personal life. And so now I want to ask you a little bit about beyond what you do, and let you tell us a little bit about the your business. But beyond what you do from the business, who do you feel like you're becoming?
Hmm. Oh, I love this question. Um, every year I have a word of the year.
Okay.
And for several years in a row, that actually 2 years in a row, that word was softening.
Oh.
I've found that through a lot of my life, I've been working on being less soft and, all this. I wouldn't say I was ever part of this boss babe culture, but
Mhm.
there was a lot of those type of activities and those type of mindsets and like growing and sales and this and that and expanding. And I realized that softening is an area that I could grow in. And it was my word for a couple years in a row because I didn't do as much of it as I would have liked to.
Okay. And if you
The
Well, I don't
become,
mean to cut you off. I do want to
yeah.
ask, like, what do you mean when you say softening? Like, was that more in your business life? Kind of just hearing what that means. I've never heard the word softening as a word, so that's really interesting for me.
Good question. For me, it was all of the above. I have a tendency to see things in a very black and white light. What
Okay.
does it look like to see these same things with nuance? What
Mm.
does it look like to be a maybe to a question
Okay.
or a maybe later instead of a yes or a no? What does it mean to surrender and
Mm.
let myself be taken care of by someone else and, let people support me in the ways that work for them?
Mm-hmm.
So after those couple of years, I found that the softening just happened in becoming a parent, in
Mm-hmm.
pregnancy, in being needing to be taken care of, and the laying in and just becoming softer physically, right? Like all these things
All the
really
things.
happen.
Yes.
All of it.
Hmm. Wow. And I was going to say that, listening to you saying it about when you become a parent, and I think that does, I think I'm like that too. I was kind of like, I'm a rule follower. I don't think it's anything wrong with that, but I always try to do the right thing, and then sometimes to the point where I don't think I was rigid, but sometimes it's kind of like, maybe I could let up a little bit. And I do believe parenting does allow you to do that. So I'm glad to hear you say that.
Hmm.
Well, thank you. I love that because this year my word was steadfast. My 2026
Mm.
word. So it's really neat to hear that you do a word each year, and I love that about the softenings. That's why I was asking. So
What
if
has
oh
steadfast looked like for you this year?
well, Lord knows I really truly have had to really lean into that word because there have been some challenges just in these last few months that if I didn't remain, going and knowing that God is guiding me and He has His hand on my life. And there have been many times where I'm like, I can't do this. I can't do it on my own. But I feel like with Him, He is showing me the path. I like to tell people that I'm seeing it like, that staircase that you can't see, it's like it's dark. And so I know for me, I like to see the entire thing before I do anything. And I think on purpose, I'm not seeing it. I just see like this dark staircase. And each time I take a step, it lights up, and then I make that one step, and then when I make the next step, it lights up, and it shows me clarity each time I step on one of those steps, but it's not showing me the whole picture. So for me, just being leaning into whatever it is I feel like he's telling me, and what you stated about surrender, that has a lot to do with it, and just making sure that I'm doing what I feel like he's telling me within my spirit, and being disciplined in that. So that has been that word for me this year, and I know it's going to help carry me through the rest of the year as well. So thank you for asking that.
That's a beautiful visual, Tiffany. I really love that
Oh, well,
staircase.
thank you. Yeah, truly, it's not been a very necessarily a beautiful journey. I'm sure you know it's been zigzags, but that's the way I've really finally just said, I think, God, that's what you're telling me, and I'm just going to do what you ask. So thank you
Mhm.
for asking me that. I do appreciate it. So as we lean more into trying to find out what you do and what your life is like, with you being the founder of your own business, and I'm assuming is it two different businesses? Since it's okay, do you want to
Yep.
tell us a little bit about them?
Sure. So, Accountable Hero, I set up software for coaches. So,
Oh,
life
okay.
coaches, business coaches, like mental fitness coaches. There's every kind of coach, and I set that
Hmm.
up for them so that they can focus just on the coaching part.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, and then build the
Okay.
course. I build out courses in whatever software makes sense for someone's business. So we are turning either their book or their signature talk that they do on stage or their cool idea that's stuck in a bunch of Apple Notes and just nobody's getting it
Mm-hmm.
into an online interactive course so that people actually do that work and actually get those results.
Hmm. Well, that sounds like it's a great plan that you have, a great business. And I'm certain that coaches really love that because, like you stated many times, you want to do the job of coaching, but there's so many other things. So it's so glad to hear that you can streamline that for them. Well, as you are being a founder, you are a leader. So every woman leads in her own way. So, what's the story behind how you lead and influence others?
Hmm. I think the way I like to lead is very delegation. Like I actually, so when I went to school, I went to art school. And a lot of people are surprised by that because now I'm doing technology and all that stuff. But I remember one time I did this really elaborate production. I did a whole crazy show. I had dancers and makeup artists and DJs and just everything, everything. And I remember saying to them, I remember sitting down with the DJ and saying, listen, here's the general idea. I want you to take this and you get to be the artist of the music.
Mm,
I said that to someone did poetry reading during the thing. I said it to the makeup artist. What's something crazy you've always wanted to do that
mm,
you've never gotten the opportunity to do that fits with this?
mm,
The dancers, I gave them just a general idea. And that's how I run my business, where I have people that work for me, and I tell them, here's the general idea. Do it however you figure out how to do it. And there's a little bit of play back and forth with, well, I need to sometimes be a little more clear on that direction.
mm,
But what I love about it is they come up with ways of doing things that I wouldn't have thought of.
mm,
If we would have gone Morgan's way, or how I imagined that it would go, it would not have been as good as what they came up with.
mm.
So I don't know if that's a helpful analogy, the art
Oh,
show.
that's a great analogy. I think I look at that how it influences others because you're not just saying, well, I'm the leader and you do it my way. You're willing to listen to if it's another way to do it, which is what I believe leaders do. You allow your people to blossom and to do what they know what's best as long as they get the overall gist of what it is you're wanting. So I think that's a beautiful way to describe that.
Thank you.
I'm sure they appreciate it too, that they're able to be creative in those roles. So thank you for sharing that. Well, what helps you stay consistent when you feel like life can start to stretch you a bit?
Hmm. I think for me, as part of softening,
Mhm.
I'm letting go of consistency a little bit and looking at what am I attached to in consistency?
Okay.
So does it mean that I, when we're even talking about stuff that's non-work related, do I exercise every day? Not right now,
Mm-hmm.
not in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Do I exercise for a whole hour? Not right now, not in this season.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's a few minutes, and maybe it's something to move me forward without it being like a whole thing, capital W, capital T. And
Mm-hmm. Right.
so I'm just rethinking what is consistency and what moves things forward, and I'm relaxing around my own standards for
Mm-hmm.
consistency and showing up, and I'm giving myself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
So on those days where I really don't have the energy to answer my emails, it's not there for me. How can I set up my team to be able to do that for me? Or how can I set up my clients to understand that they're not going to hear from me every day? I'm
Mm-hmm.
not available like that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll get back to you within a reasonable time frame and you'll get a great answer, but you're
Mm-hmm.
not getting a half Morgan on a day when I only have half.
Right. Love that. Wow. Well, that moves us right into, I was going to ask, say, first of all, that is beautiful. And I think that, a lot of times with traditional, I don't know if you've been in the traditional work environment. I know I have for some years. And there were times where I just had to say, I'm not going to take this home. I'm not going to do it. Not that I don't do my work. I mean, there were many times I did, but there were just sometimes I just had to say put a boundary up and say, you know what, I need to rest when I get home. I need to let my brain relax. And I love the fact that you're able to do that, especially when you have your own creation of something, because it's like you said, it's not that you don't want to get back with them, but you just want to, sometimes you got to take some time for yourself so that you can be the best Morgan possible. And I loved how you said about the half, not being the half Morgan. So now we'll move more into a point where I want to ask a little bit about what self-care, because you kind of leaned in that a little bit already. So what self-care looks like for you. We know it's different for every woman. You stated a little bit about the fact that sometimes you may walk, it may not be the hour or whatever exercise, but you're doing something. So what does that look like for you? How do you get peace within your self-care routine?
For me, self-care, I had it in my head for a really long time that self-care was a bath with bubbles, with a face mask, with a book, with the
Mhm.
lights off, with
Mhm.
obviously not with the book with the lights off, but you get it. Like I had it in my
Yeah.
head that that is self-care. You have a cup of tea,
Mhm.
like all of these things are self-care. And I realized that for me, some other things are really energizing and feel more like self-care. Things like moving my body. I love to hike. I love to be outside.
Mhm.
And is it just sitting outside in the sun for a few minutes?
Mhm.
Is it and movement is also another great thing. So sit maybe not sitting in the sun, maybe walking in the sun.
Mhm.
And so I've started to really pay attention to what are things that fill my cup, and
Mhm.
that is self-care. And it seems really straightforward, but I didn't really have a great grasp on what are those things and do they count as self-care.
Mhm.
So learning is a big part of my self-care. So I
Mhm.
am prioritizing classes. And, I talked about my art. I'm learning new art methods. I just signed up for, last year I did a couple glass blowing workshops.
Mhm.
That is so much fun. And like just being in an environment where I don't know anything about anything and like
Mhm.
learning, it feels really good for me. And that's self-care. So how
Mhm.
do I put more? So I asked for Christmas, I want an art class,
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
kind of thing, and prioritizing that.
Yes, and again, I think all of those are important. Whatever it is that, like you say, fills your cup, make you feel good, something that you want to do. It doesn't always have to be like you stated. We normally think that a massage, a bath, but I love the fact too that you said you like to hike because I can only imagine being in California how the beautiful places that you have that you could probably go in nature and look at. So we have nice places in Louisiana. It's just hot, and we don't have
Yeah.
the mountains and all of that. But I can imagine it's beautiful. I've been to California a few times, not to the area that you're in, but it's so beautiful. So I'm glad that you're able to get out and enjoy that beautiful scenery that's there. So my other two questions kind of go along the lines there. So on kind of what you've stated. So if you want to elaborate, you can. But one part talks a little bit about sometimes when we get out of alignment, when life can knock us off balance, how do you realign? And I'm hearing that you probably do some of those same type of activities to align yourself.
Yeah, and something else I do is paying attention to what other people say. And for a long part of my life, I was like, I don't want to hear what other people have to say. I'm not interested. But now I've really curated my circle
Hmm.
so that when somebody says something, they're probably right. They're not always right, but they're probably right. And when someone says, I see your face when you're doing this or when you're talking about this, and you look like you're so full of joy. I think,
Hmm.
oh, okay. And similarly, I see you when you talk to that client after you get off of that call, you are a stress ball. Oh,
Hmm.
okay, that's
Hmm.
interesting. And
Hmm.
so being out of alignment, I'm very fortunate, very privileged to be able to make some of those calls at this point in my business where I don't work with people that aren't in alignment anymore. And it
Hmm.
took a while for me to get there, Tiffany. Like it took some really scary conversations and firing a client and seeing how that went. And like they begged me to come back. Not in like, I'm not trying to be whatever,
Yeah.
but I stuck with it. Like you were talking about boundaries earlier. I stuck with it and I said, no, I don't think we're a good fit. Let me refer you to this person.
Mhm.
And it was so scary. But the more I practice that and use those muscles of saying yes to people who are in alignment, yes to situations that feel good in my body, and noticing what does my body feel like that. It sounds really simple, but for me, it's been a long journey of that.
I'm nodding a lot because I totally agree with you. And I do think that sometimes as women, we think it's something wrong with us if we see that we're not meshing with someone well, and then we start putting it back off on us. And like you said, sometimes it's just not a fit. And I love the fact that you feel it, like you said, in your body, or just, sometimes it's just not, the connection is not there. And you know that, hey, we need to do something different. And I think that's so important. I'm glad that you're sharing that about your journey, because it lets other women know it's okay to say no. You don't have to be rude or, insensitive to anyone, but you do have the right to tell someone no when things are not aligned with you. So I appreciate you sharing that with us. So, we think about the things that we do, that lights us up, the work that we do for our life's purpose. And then we move into how we're taking care of ourselves, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of others. So now we want to talk a little bit about how we bounce back when things sometimes don't go exactly how we planned. You're kind of like a bit of resilience. So if you can think about a season that you had a challenge, what shaped your strength based on that challenge?
For me, this is a perspective shift.
Okay.
I've been through several big shifts where I realized looking back that things not going the way I wanted or expected was actually the perfect path for opening up the thing I did need. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but
No, it does. It
but
doesn't.
it is like it has helped me because as I get older, I can look back and I can look then at something I'm going through. So very I'll give you two quick examples. One is when I was in art school, I was studying printmaking, and I had a teaching assistantship lined up for the printmaking department. Something happened, and I ended up in the fashion department, and I was furious. I was so mad. And then I walked in there, I was like, I don't have anything in common with any of these people, blah, 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 blah. Well, it completely shaped my art for the rest of my life.
Hmm.
And I ended up doing these weird headpieces for St. Louis Fashion Week, and I did all this. Yeah, and I never was the same. And I remember the teacher saying, when you make stuff in a gallery, people walk around, maybe they look for a minute or two, but the second a model walks in wearing the art, the room stops. And
Wow.
my work, I ended up showing my work in the World of Wearable Art in New Zealand, in this
Oh,
international
cool.
competition. Like Tiffany, it really that little paperwork mistake that I
Uh-huh.
was so mad about
Uh-huh.
changed the trajectory of my
Yes.
life, right? And then the same thing with like I've gotten fired from jobs and that doesn't feel good. That is
Mm-hmm.
awful.
Mm-hmm.
And I've lost friendships and and then every single one of those opened up space for, these companies would not exist. The
Mm-hmm.
companies I'm at now. And I have worked in the corporate landscape. I have worked with terrible bosses as well. And I work with
Mm-hmm.
great bosses. And having had terrible and great bosses, gives me the information I need to be hopefully a good boss, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hope I'm
Okay.
being a good one.
Yes.
Um, so
Mm-hmm.
so having enough of those in my past, now when I run into something, I'm like, this is terrible. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. And I grieve it for a while and I get mad for a while. And then I'm like, okay, if this and this and this and this all happened, what might be next for me?
Mm. Yes, that's a great point. And as you stated, I think the more we move along life, and sometimes we don't see where that may benefit us at the time, but then, like you stated, when you look back, you're able to say that. And it's just really neat to hear about all of the neat experiences you had from that one mistake that you were able to catapult.
Yeah,
That's really neat. I'm glad to hear that that happened for you.
thank you.
And you're welcome. So, what helps you stay steady while you're juggling all the different roles that you carry?
Whew. Um, I'll be honest, Tiffany, I am not a very steady person. I
Okay.
I am a all the way this way and all the way that way person.
Okay.
I am a very extreme. levels person.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one one of the only things that helps me with steadiness is really my partner. Um, Someone with a personality like me, with someone with a personality like him, it's like, okay, that's my steadiness. That's my return back to baseline. That's my reminder of who I am when I forget. And um yeah, it's and I like to not be a super steady person too. Like I need to have these like pinball, kind
Uh-huh.
of bouncing.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that's one of the things that really helps.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, they always say opposites attract, and
Yeah.
a lot of times our strengths can, help somebody else's areas of growth and vice versa. So that's great to hear that you have that. Well,
Well,
oh, go ahead, go ahead.
you just made me think of Tiffany,
Mm-hmm.
that's another one of those examples of, I went through a really terrible heartbreak
Mm-hmm.
as I was getting to know who I'm with now. And it was like another one of those examples of like, okay, I had to do that. I had to learn that lesson
Mm-hmm.
because I would not have appreciated him without,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have been ready. I wouldn't have been the person I needed to be. So
Mm-hmm.
sorry to interrupt you.
No, 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 no. You're great. I interrupt me as much as you like, and I'm glad you shared that as well. Like I said, it's really, even though we've just been together just for a few minutes, but it's just really neat to hear your experiences just in that little bit of time and how your life's journey can be an inspiration for someone else's. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us. So as we begin to wrap up a bit, I want you to think about, what would you tell a woman who's holding back when she's meant to rise?
Refill your circle
Hmm.
because one of the things that my best friend taught me was surround yourself with people who are at your level or higher.
Hmm.
When it comes to whatever level of development we're talking about, whether it comes to career, self-confidence, like whatever, if you are currently surrounding yourself with people who with whom it's not easy to shine your light, those
Mm-hmm.
are the wrong people. Get them out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And it might feel hard and it might sound really simple and easy when I say it, but like letting go of friendships is hard.
Mm-hmm.
But is even if it's a family member, you spend less time with that person and more time with people who are calling you into that light shining phase. People who are like, oh my gosh, I love that thing you just did, instead of being jealous or petty or, making you feel some sort of way.
Right.
Surround yourself with people who are celebrating you. And that exists. It does exist. And you have to consciously do it. But once you do, you will know that you've done it.
Well, you've said the circle thing twice. I take a few notes here and there, just, for my own benefit when I'm listening. And you stated correct, curate your circle, refill your circle, and surround yourself. And I love all of that because you're totally, it's not the fact that you feel like you're above anyone, but if someone doesn't sometimes feel like or know how to support you and you're trying to support them, and sometimes it seems like, it like you said, could be jealousy, could be other things that could cause an issue. Before long you are starting to question yourself, trying to figure out, well, what am I doing wrong? And I know
Mhm.
that the older I've gotten, the more I've really said, if I don't mean to be rude, but I'm thinking to myself, if this is kind of not aligning, or I feel like I have to put a certain boundary up, I'm still gonna be nice to you. I'm still gonna speak, but I just know I need to pull back because I'm not feeling the connection that I need to feel, and I don't want to go through life feeling like I've done something wrong with somebody that I care about. So I love how you stated and you mentioned that a few times about your circle. So I can tell how important that circle is for you. Well, my
Mhm.
last question is, if you could tell your younger self one message, what would you want her to know?
Mm.
The younger Morgan.
I think I would tell her you're gonna end up older than you think. I honestly, Tiffany, I never, I never thought that I would be the age I am. Um I have gone through a lot of mental health struggles, and I was absolutely sure that I was going to die young. Like, I never imagined myself in this age. And if I had, I might have prepared some things a little differently. So, it's looking at the future as longer. I would tell her there's going to be a longer future than you realize.
Oh, love that. Well, you've done a great, I can just tell by listening to the things you've already done and what you're adding to the world. It's great that God has you here to fulfill the purpose that He has for you. So I thank you so much for just being able to come on here with us today and for joining us on the Women's Spotlight, Her Light and Her Story. And I hope today's conversation with Morgan inspired you to keep shining your light and walking confidently in your own story. And if you love this episode, please be sure to subscribe, share it with a friend, and join me next time as we continue to celebrate the incredible journeys of women like you. Until then, keep showing up, keep growing, and keep shining. And see you next time, my lady friend. Thanks again, Morgan.
Thank you.
You're welcome.